What is up, fellow nerds, and welcome back to the Dapper Snapper Gaming channel, and welcome back to How Do I Want to Do This? This is our series where we take a look at all playable options available to players in Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, then we rank them on a scale of 1 to 10 and either build them or fix them depending on how they rank. Now today we are finishing up our talks on the Oath of the Crown Paladin, and we have some work to do on this thing. I personally don't think that the Oath of the Crown was all that good. And so what I have done is come up with a bit of a fix. Did I go too far? Did I not go far enough? Well, we're just gonna have to find that out today. But before we do that, make sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe if you haven't already. As you can see, most people who watch the channel are not subscribed, so please don't be one of those people. Help us to reach our goal of 5,000 by the end of this year. I think we can do it, but of course I need your help in order to get there. So make sure that you share the video with your friends and click the bell so you're notified when new videos are uploaded. Also, make sure to consider joining the channel. Down below, you'll see that join button, and for only $2 a month, you will get access to all of my build guides and subclass fixes on a nicely formatted document for you to keep. Of course, you get access to every new one that comes out, as well as my full library that has come before. And of course, you know, for $2 a month, it's nothing, right? And it really helps me out when it comes to creating more content for you all. And then of course, if you bump up to the silver tier, of course, that isn't all that much more. And of course, you will get these videos a day early, and you of course get a special shout out. So there we go. Thank you so much to all of my silver members. You all are amazing, and I am so happy to have you all. And finally, up in the gold tier, we have our helpers in giving us what we are going to cover in our variety builds. Our variety builds, of course, are our builds that are not locked down to any particular class or subclass. It's where I can just kind of go crazy. And those are really fun concepts. And of course, you will get priority in helping me pick out what it is that I will be doing in that. So a lot of really cool things. And of course, at that gold tier, there will be some more things coming eventually, but that is what there is currently. So thank you all so much to all of my members. I really appreciate you. And if you're not one currently, I really hope that you will consider doing so as well. Finally, before we jump into the fix, I want to mention that I have joined a Pokemon Draft League. I'll put a link up in the iCard above to my draft analysis that explains what that means. And then, of course, my first week's battle is going up very soon. So again, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss that as well. Again, that is just something I'm doing in addition to the D&D content. The D&D content is not stopping or slowing down. This is just something else in addition. So I hope you guys will enjoy that little bit of extra and different content. So with all that out of the way, let's jump into the fix. So when it came to creating this version of the subclass, I had kind of two core concepts that I wanted to really accentuate and explore here. One of those is, of course, buffing one ally. Now, in the original, of course, we had that heal that could happen to everybody. I wanted to only focus on healing one person or helping one person, one ally. And so this is for a couple of reasons. One, of course, for balancing purposes, but more so than that, I wanted to make sure that we are actually helping a friend. And our whole point is that we are supposed to be watching over royalty, right? A king, a queen, a whatever. And so this allows us to treat an ally as that, whether it is whoever it is that you're sworn to protect or not. This gives you that ability. And then beyond that, I wanted to also be able to debuff enemies that are attacking our allies. Not necessarily make it harder for them to hit us. I wanted to make it harder for them to hit other characters. And so that was kind of the core goal here, right? So of course we can take a little bit of inspiration from something like the Cavalier Fighter. There's a little bit baked into that's really helpful, but kind of that soft taunt is really what makes this a really good tank in helping to protect an ally. And that's the whole point of this, is to protect one ally and make sure that that ally does not go down, or if he or she does, then you can reasonably be there to take care of it. So let's take a look at what we have come up with this week. Again, make sure to join the channel so you can look at the very fine document that we have worked on here, but otherwise you will get the footnotes just for this. So for our oath spells, I have of course changed this list completely and taken this from a complete trash list to one that might be a little too far, but it's okay. Number 1, Healing Word. Healing Word at 3rd level makes way too much sense. It gives us bonus action, which frees up our action to do whatever it is we want to do, and it heals 1 person. It all works out. I think that's perfect. And then I'm looking through the list of spells that are out there, and I'm like, the most Oath of the Crown spell to exist ever is Silvery Barbs, right? So I'm like, why not? Silvery Barbs, of course, debuffs an enemy and then buffs your ally. That is exactly what we are going for, so I put it on this list. Obviously, if this were something official by Wizards of the Coast, this would never be on there because it came from Strixhaven, but I think it makes a lot of sense. Yes, it makes this Paladin insanely strong, but I think it's appropriate. I think it really, really fits the theme, and it's really, really strong. Of course, at 5th level, I don't know why we don't have Enthrall. Enthrall makes way too much sense. It's not necessarily a busted spell, but being able to draw attention to yourself and away from your allies is the whole point. And that is why I've chosen this. And then I also went with Suggestion here. This could be used in a couple of different ways. I could see this used against maybe a stubborn ally you're trying to protect when you're saying, you know, get back behind me, and that person doesn't want to. Or of course, you know, suggesting to an enemy that that enemy needs to get out of here and not attack your friend. So either way, I think that that can work thematically for what it is we're trying to do. So I think that is an improvement. At 9th level, I kind of broke my rule a little bit with Mass Healing Word. I think Mass Healing Word is just too useful for me to give up here. And of course, it's kind of a progression over Healing Word. So that's kind of the thing here. So that does kind of break the theme a little bit. But I think it's worth it. And then Spirit Guardians, we kept the same. We talked about, of course, on Tuesday when we ranked this, which is up in the iCard above, that Spirit Guardians was pretty much the only spell that I really cared about on this list because almost everything else was already a Paladin spell. So yeah, we went with Spirit Guardians here because I think it fits. It's a cool spell and I don't really want to see it go. So it's still here. Then Death Ward at level 13. Come on, Death Ward is the most protect your ally spell, well, one of them, that you can really get at this level, and it's absolutely perfect for what it is that we are trying to do. And then I picked a weird one with Odaluk's Resilient Sphere. This is stick the Monarch in a bubble, and then you go and fight whatever it is, or you stick the enemy in a bubble, and you and your friend run away. So I think that this is a very interesting choice. I don't know, thematically, I think it kind of makes sense. This is definitely one that I was kind of teetering on whether or not to keep, but I think it works. I think it works okay. Finally, level 17, I swapped out one of the spells here. I kept Gesh here because that one actually makes a lot of sense. And then I put in Hold Monster instead of Circle of Power. Circle of Power is not bad, but I did think that Hold Monster was a little bit more applicable. Dominate Person was also kind of an interesting idea, but I think Hold Monster is going to be more applicable, and so that's why I went with that one instead. For our channel divinities at level 3, I had a very interesting way about wanting to do this. So number 1, I actually kept Champion Challenge exactly how it is. Now, originally, I didn't really like this, and I still stand by that. I think it's underpowered, but I've now tweaked some other things later on. And so actually it ends up making this pretty good. And so I wanted to keep it how it was. That way we really are able to maintain kind of the shell of what this was supposed to be. And now it actually has features that combo into it later in the subclass. And so I think that's a lot better of a use then. However, I really didn't like Turn the Tide. I felt like it was just weak and it was just worse Healing Word. And so now that I've given it Healing Word, it really has no use. And so instead, I've gone with something I'm calling Divine Defense. Basically, it's just a free Shield of Faith without concentration. So basically it is for 1 minute, you choose one creature within 30 feet of you. And as long as it can still hear you, there is a +2 bonus to its AC. It does have to stay within 30 feet of you. And so what this is going to do is create some interesting play when it comes to the level 7 feature. And again, this is going to lead to a lot of interesting situations where you are having to really focus on positioning on the battlefield, both you and your allies. And so I think this can lead to some really cool teamwork, and that's kind of the concept here. So then at level 7, this is where I thought about comboing back to the channel divinity, and I wanted an aura here, right? Every other paladin almost gets an aura here, and Oath of the Crown does not. So it really makes no sense to not have a 10-foot aura now that increases to 30 feet later, right? And so the most powerful and thematically satisfying version that I could think up was this one, and I'm calling it Aura of Goading. So with this, we are emanating this aura that just kind of messes with enemies' minds as they try to attack other creatures, but they can see you clearly, right? And so whenever that creature is within 10 feet of you while in that aura, then if it is hostile to you or an ally, it will have disadvantage on attack rolls against any creature other than you. Of course, if it attacks you, it's going to be normal. But again, this helps you to protect your allies and really makes this a very, very strong option for a paladin. And I think this is great, right? You are drawing attacks to you. And so, yeah, you might go down, but you're also the paladin. So you've got a really good AC. You're going to have your aura that gives you a bonus of your charisma modifier to your saving throws. So you're going to be mostly good there. So if anybody is going to be tanking hits, it's going to be you, right? And so this really, really helps out. And of course, the aura will increase to 30 feet at level 18, just like any other would. So at level 15, I now get to actually think about like an original feature, right? Something that's different, because originally it was advantage against 2 status conditions that weren't super common. And so I was like, this is lame. It's not good. I don't care. And it's also level 15, right? This should be a pretty powerful feature at this level. So I went pretty powerful on this. So at level 15, when we are within 30 feet of an ally that is getting hit with an attack, we can use our reaction to switch places with it and take that full damage instead. And of course, we can only do this once per rest. Now, this is, of course, kind of a callback to the original level 7 feature, but with much less restrictions, right? Because originally you had to be right next to that person. And that's just too restrictive. It was one of my biggest complaints, was that in Oath of Redemption, we actually have a 10-foot version of that exact same feature. So why is Crowns the same feature, just worse? So this gives us something different, right? It is a free one-time use per long rest teleport, and you take the damage instead of your ally. And of course, this will bypass resistances. You can't reduce the damage in any way. Whatever the damage was, that's how much you take, right? So again, here we are stepping in, protecting our allies, and I think we're being really effective at doing that. Finally, level 20, we are finally at the pinnacle of what we should be. And I had some issues with this, right? Because I thought it was just really underwhelming what it was that we got. So I tweaked it a little bit. Number 1, we are going to have resistance to all damage when we have this feature. And so this is going to affect every bit of damage except for what we take from Sacrificial Protector. I did lower this down to 1 minute rather than 1 hour, just because of another part that I added to this. So I think that this is better. Just take it down to 1 minute, because I think it's just better balanced that way. And then we also have advantage on wisdom saving throws, as do allies. I kept that the same, but what we changed was the last one. Instead of death saving throws, we actually are going to just give ourselves extra damage. If an enemy is within 5 feet of an ally, whenever we hit them with a melee attack, we deal extra damage. That is the first buff that I have really given us. Everything else has been full support. And so in that way, I think that's a very interesting way to play this, right? We are not there to glorify ourselves. We are there to protect. And so, yes, I could have just dumped a bunch of extra damage on here, because if something's dead, it can't hurt your friend. But more so, I want to have that support role as a paladin. I think that that really is an interesting niche that a lot of paladins just really aren't willing to explore because smite everything, right? You've already got a ton of features that allow you to do a ton of damage. Let's pile on some support features and let that be the crown's niche. And so that's where I'm at on this subclass. I think it's pretty powerful. And so I really think that it's really cool though. Make sure to let me know in the comments what you think about it. Of course, make sure to watch out for my week 1 Pokemon battle for the SSBA Draft League. And then next week, we are going to be covering the Oath of Devotion. Again, down below, let me know what you thought of this version of the Oath of the Crown. And of course, we will see you next week. Until then, stay safe out there, stay healthy. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.